Before we start, I have used World of Longplays for some of the footage in this video. Links to all that will be down below. They are doing God's work, preserving video game history. Check them out. I think it's time I did this list. A few of you have asked what my favourite game is, and well, I don't have a singular favourite game, so I decided to do a top 10. But then when I wrote down all the games I love, I realised I should do a top 20 in two parts, because all these games mean a lot to me. Some of these games I've done full videos on, so I'll whack the links to them in the description as well. I've made a one entry per franchise rule here, by the way, and really these aren't in any particular order. Now bring your wellies, we are getting knee deep into these lovely games. Number 20, Devil May Cry. It's widely regarded that Devil May Cry 3 is the best one, and the people are probably right on that one, but Devil May Cry 1 holds a special place for me since it's the first game I bought with my own money, and I loved it. I hadn't seen anything so stylish before. It was a game that made me feel like I was really good at it because of all the cool combat moves I could do. It might feel a bit light and simple now compared to the likes of Bayonetta and Devil May Cry 5, but I think that's why I prefer it. You had just enough combos to learn without being bogged down, the environments looked cool and gothic, you could tell it was originally a Resident Evil spin-off. The enemy variety was good, though those Grim Reaper things can choke on my poo. The story was absolute toss and Dante was a bit of an arse, but that didn't matter to me at the time. I was so enamoured with the cool factor that 10-year-old me thought was awesome. It isn't really now, it comes across as cringy. It's still definitely worth playing now to see the origins of these types of games. Number 19, Phantasy Star Universe. The very first MMO I properly got into. I was obsessed with it. It's a game critics didn't look too kindly on at the time of its release, and I don't see why. I think a lot of people reviewed it based on its single player offerings, which fair enough was quite average. The story mode had likeable characters, but the story was pretty average and it got very repetitive gameplay wise since the MMO portion allowed a lot more customization and content. Obviously the MMO portion is offline now with a private server coming soon called Clementine, so the footage you're seeing is all single player stuff, I'm afraid. The combat was quite simple, yes, but you had so many weapons and learnable moves at your disposal to add variety as well as loads of classes and race combinations. Most of the addiction for me lied in learning new moves which you could level up for more powerful variants, as well as the quests for new gear and upgrading it. It's very much a dungeon crawler without the MMO trope of having a tank, healer and DPS, which is a good system, don't get me wrong, but so many MMOs use it now. 4 different planets to explore with many areas in each, talking about it makes me want to play it. I miss those D-Reagan runs. The community was great back then, so many friendly helpful people. It's sad to see a game that meant a lot to people taken offline, but we can all thank capitalism for that. Now I should say if you want to play this, I would play Phantasy Star Portable 2 since it's all the content of Universe's story and MMO portions with more weapons, missions and locales added in, as well as improved combat. Nothing is locked behind the subscription and it runs fine on a PSP emulator. But at the end of the day, PSU had a lasting impact on me and that is why it's in my list. God, I miss my room and player shop. Number 18, Condemned Criminal Origins. What a game! Condemned was a launch title for the Xbox 360 and it still holds up amazingly today. The story is about FBI agent Ethan Thomas, who is framed for the killing of 2 officers by a serial killer. So you join Ethan on a quest to clear his name and catch the real killer. Simple stuff. It's told well though, there's a couple of good twists and turns, but at the end it gets a bit sillier. The combat was horrific in itself. If you love whacking homeless people, this is for you. Hitting someone in this game doesn't make a dramatic bass-filled whack like you hear in films, it's a realistic dull thud that just makes it feel more gritty. Enemies also react realistically to getting hit. They recoil when they've took one to the face, they do fake swings to knock your timing off, rip weapons off walls, it's impressive stuff. A lot of the horror comes from enemy behaviour, they will hide to try and get the drop on you. The sound design is also top notch. You can hear their footsteps and items they knock over, and the dimly lit environments really add to the atmosphere too. The investigation gameplay was far too simple to make you feel like a real crime scene investigator, but it got it where it counts, and that's the horror. I did a full video on this game, so go see that if you want more depth, but do yourself a favour and play Condemned. Number 17, Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley taught a lot of people the mundane can be fun. It's one of the most absorbing games I've ever played. There's so much to to do. Farming, fishing, foraging, mining, combat, making friends, romancing, building the community centre, or lurking around the village at night like a creep. It might sound overwhelming, but Stardew Valley is a relaxing game that you can take at your own pace. I think a lot of us wish we could escape our life and live on a farm doing what we want, and it's that escapism that turns us on to games, I imagine. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here because everyone loves Stardew Valley. It's absorbing to the point people might think you've gone missing, lovely to look at, has some great characters that you can really connect to, and most importantly, it's a great, fun, wholesome time. Number 16, Monster Hunter World. I'm still playing Monster Hunter World now, which speaks volumes to me. I liked the series before, but World is just a masterpiece in my opinion. So much customization, so many things to work towards, cool environments, the pig in the town, and player room customization. Love it. The monsters themselves are the highlight. No fight against them feels the same, with each having their own unique behaviours and patterns. They look amazing too, with gorgeous animations that make them feel so real. The combat is top notch, loads of weapons to master, and you're rewarded for timing your attacks well and targeting specific parts of the monster to break off for loot. You really have to learn the monster's attack patterns and weaknesses to do well, else you will get destroyed. It's challenging, yes, but so satisfying. There's no better feeling than getting battered by a monster multiple times only to finally take it down, carve it up for armour, and then hunt down its offspring wearing its parent's skin. It's addictive, probably far too much. I get embarrassed when I see my hour count on this game. I did a full video on this, so I won't waffle on. The Iceborne expansion was absolute quality too, so if you haven't yet, play it. Number 15, Halo 3. Halo 3 was the first online shooter I properly got into, but it's not just that reason why it's on the list. Halo 3 is just an amazing game all round. A great campaign with exciting missions, great level design, characters and set pieces, all co-op as well. The act of playing Halo 3 was also cracking. The way the AI behaved in unique ways, the weapon variety, responsive shooting and other mechanics like the sticky grenade. That never gets old for me. Seeing the aliens panic for a few seconds before being blown across the room, it's It's the multiplayer though where it shone for me. So many good maps, so many modes, and that level editor was amazing. I had so many infected private matches with my mates where we made our own maps for it. It's one of the first games as well that I got really good at online. Nowadays I play Halo like I've got brain damage. Number 14, Mario 64. This was it, the game that got me onto gaming and ruined my life. I was round a mate's house when I was only interested in playing with toy cars, and he showed me Mario 64, and it blew my tits right off. When I got home, I begged my mum and dad for a Nintendo and Mario. Stupid bastards only ended up getting me a Super Nintendo with Street Fighter 2, didn't they? Mario 64 is still a great time. The sense of wonder I had when I played it, anything was possible. I remember getting to the end of the game where you climb them stairs with paintings of Bowser all over them, and I got scared and had to get my dad to do it. This game is definitely in here because of the memories it holds for me. It's still good, don't get me wrong, great levels and controls, but games like Mario Galaxy and Odyssey blow it out of the water in my opinion. Bloody great game that you should play if you're interested in the evolution of 3D platformers. Should play even if you're not really, it's part of an important time in video game history. Don't play the DS port of it though, it's crap. Number 13, Fear. Not only a cracking shooter, but a decent horror time as well. Yeah, those sections were heavily scripted, but it was a good break from the relentless action. You had a bullet time mechanic, which not only looked cool, but was necessary to take on the incredible AI in this game. They would throw grenades to flush you out of cover, try to flank you, lay down cover fire, and if they have the numbers, just rush your position. It's really still impressive today. Most AI now just plonks itself behind cover and shoots you with pinpoint accuracy. The environments also had ridiculous damage physics on them. After a shootout, every room ends up looking like the end of the lobby scene from The Matrix. The weapons were quite standard fare, but my god, the shotgun in this game is the bollocks. It sounds like Brian Blessed as a gun and turns enemy soldiers into meaty chunks. It all handles amazingly and is so satisfying, which is a must for a shooter for me. The story was okay too. You discover more about the creepy little girl that's stalking you and the corporation that thinks it's a good idea to make a load of psychically controlled soldiers. The environments can get very repetitive, but they have a smashing atmosphere to them. It's a great unique shooter. Get it played. Number 12, The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is regarded as one of the best RPGs ever made, and it is. The world feels real and lived in, something I deem very important in RPGs. The writing is absolutely top drawer with amazing characters and world building. It's one of the only RPGs I've played where I preferred the side quests over the main story. They were amazingly written, and the choices you made in some of them affected the world in genuine ways. The monster hunting side quests were good too. It was nice to see Geralt in his element, and it genuinely felt like you were tracking and preparing to take on a dangerous foe. The world itself was huge but also richly detailed, and usually games sacrifice one for the other, but not Witcher 3. The RPG mechanics were great too. There were so many ways you could build Geralt, the potions and crafting system was streamlined in really smart ways. The combat was okay, there's a lot of variety to it with signs, swords and traps, and it's the only real weak point I can find in the game, but Geralt had a habit of over-animating with his sword swings, leading me to get hit a lot. But strengthen up Gwen and you're golden. Loads of mad shagging in it as well. Number 11, Silent Hill 2. Quite an obvious one here for long-time viewers. Silent Hill 2 is everything you want from a horror game and more. Atmospheric, genuinely scary without relying heavily on jump scares. It was all about the tension. A great story with tons of depth in there if you want to explore it, and the developers relied on players to figure out some of the more subtle elements to the plot, unlike now, where you're plonked down in a cutscene and have every little detail explained to you. The monster design was insane, all representing elements of protagonist James' psyche. It's quite similar gameplay wise to other survival horror games you've played. You have to manage resources, solve some puzzles and deal with clunky-ish combat. But that was fine because James wasn't a special forces soldier, he was just some bloke. Silent Hill 2 excels most in its atmosphere though. I don't think there is a game that even comes close. The sense of dread and misery is, well, not very pleasant, but effective. The environment design was disgusting, in a good way. Dingy, shitty places covered in rust making you wish for a tetanus jab. The very low lighting was effective too. Seeing a monster's silhouette in the distance with that alarm blaring, it's foul yourself stuff. The sound design was amazing too, or lack of it I should say. Silent Hill 2 knew how to use silence, the uneasy sense you got when everything was quiet. You knew something was coming, but when? It's considered one of the best horror games of all time, and if you're into the genre at all, you owe it yourself to play it. So there we go, that's part 1 done. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment on some of your agreements or disagreements and let me know some of your favourites. Thanks for watching. My voice really hurts now, so see you later.
It is right.